Aren't Asians all like, don't answer that? I am here to help you draw your own conclusions by sharing stories you aren't currently privy to. My name is Jolene Jang, and I'm ethnically Japanese, Chinese, and Swedish, and culturally Japanese American. And I'm fourth generation in America. Did you get that all? Okay, good. By giving you a window into the minds of Americans of Asian descent, like myself, and many more, I am aiming to provide a broader understanding of Asian Americans through diverse perspectives. Often your Asian American colleagues, your friends, your family, they likely are not openly sharing what they really feel. And they're not sharing their feelings in general because, expressing emotions, it really isn't the norm and definitely not the East Asian norm. So today, we are discussing why your company should join in on celebrating May as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So this is what we're going to cover. What does your organization stand to gain by recognizing this month? What is the origin of the Heritage Month? Who cares, by the way? How to honor this month properly? Tips on what to do and not to do? And in case you already have this month planned and maybe it's cringeworthy, how you can fix it. So there you go. Does your company honor other heritage months like Black History Month or Pride? Well, it's a good idea. This can showcase your commitment to diversity and the customers who appreciate diversity. Because even though politics and the way of the U.S. is condemning diversity and inclusion, there's money to be had. So, why do we want to focus on May? Because it is a smart business move. It makes really good financial sense to pay attention to Asians. In a world of 8.1 billion people, who is the global majority? Any guesses? Bueller? Yeah, Asians. Asians constitute the majority. 59% of the world population is Asian. And if you throw in the Pacific Islanders, that's a good solid 60%. And this doesn't even include any of the Asians outside of Asia like moi. So this is an understatement of the global majority. Who has the largest population in the world? Guess? Can you guess? Well, if you guessed China, that answer would have been correct, but right now it's old and outdated. India is the new winner of the most populous country. So both India and China have 1.4 billion people. And these numbers, there aren't just statistics. These are key indicators for businesses everywhere to pay attention. And if you look at the most populous countries, the top 10, 5 of them are Asian. So companies, pay attention. In the U.S., more than half of the population will be people of color by the year 2045. Predictions from Brookings Institute. And then this isn't just a shift in population. It's about changes in culture. And just like K-pop has crossed oceans and is extremely popular. I went to an event and I saw all these young people and white people as well doing these moves with like the K-pop band. And I didn't understand. It hasn't caught me yet, but it is very popular for many people and in the mainstream as well. And Asian Pacific Islander influences are spreading as well. And it's not just the popularity of the food. Is your company ready to adapt to these changes? If not, you're going to miss out on the business. Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders represent America's fastest growing demographic. And if you're aiming for a slice of this expanding pie, your strategic focus during May can serve as a springboard. The highest populations of Asian Americans are in California, New York, and Washington. But if you don't operate in these states, their growth is important. Even so, you might be surprised that states like South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, and Indiana, including Washington State, have the highest increases of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander population growth from 2010 to 2020. So I think those are kind of surprising and important to be aware of. And overall, since 2000, for the United States, there's been a 104% increase across the nation. And that's obviously the fastest growing of all groups. So, what does this mean for you and your company? Well, out of America's 333 million people, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander individuals account for 24.7 million people. And you may be thinking, oh, that's only 7%. What's the big deal there? Well, if you add in that they make the highest incomes, have the highest levels of education, and their purchasing power is really high and growing, then that all of a sudden makes a lucrative market. So that's something you want to pay attention to. The numbers don't lie. Okay, that's a good idea. Knowing this market is key. You can't just sell to Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. You need their input to market smartly to that group. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, people of color, same thing. We just package all the Black and gay and indigenous people together, and we just market to them as people of color. Well, that doesn't work. And think about your company. Is your company's culture inclusive and culturally competent enough to retain if you get new hires? For example, if employees are simplifying names like Twee and Mijung, if they're like, hey, can I just call you Tom and MJ for their convenience? Then that's not creating a space where everyone feels respected. I have a whole program on names and name pronunciation and the value and the importance of it. Now more than ever, with the rise of anti-Asian hate, particularly since COVID-19, it's important to understand the experiences of what your coworkers are going through. Being of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander descent, how are they feeling? How often are they told, go back home, you're dirty, go back to where you came from? So understanding the prevalence, and they may not feel safe at a meeting to say anything because that other person has made them feel uncomfortable in the past. And just understanding the prevalence of hate is pretty important. My father got a death threat. I'm out here in Seattle, out here in the suburbs, and my aunt was followed. I went a walking as I always did. Twice, and I had 2 different incidents. I know 3 other Asian Americans who told me about their experiences of 3 different occasions of people driving at them with their cars. So if this is new information to you, this is important for you to hear. And I'm aware of a stabbing daily of an Asian that doesn't make the news. And wow, this is not as fun as eating Chinese food, but it's important. This kind of information and lived experience is crucial in your workplace. So we need to talk about that. Recognizing May is more than just acknowledgement. It's having solid conversations like the information I'm sharing with you. And if your organization is planning to celebrate May, think about it. What are your objectives? What are they? What are you trying to get at? Because many companies I have heard of order Chinese food takeout and a lion dance, and that's how they celebrate the month. But take a moment to think about, how does that approach help your broader employee base of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders? How is that helping your white people understand this group? And is it elevating these employees and clients from this group? Or maybe is it reducing and bucketing them all together as Chinese and as foreigners? I think there is a way out of this, but let's talk a little bit more about this. So let's say you've got your free food going on, and then you have the lion dance, and these kids are, very acrobatic, and it's woo, it's vibrant, it's captivating, and it's delighting the senses, but without the context, it's a spectacle without any meaning, because your audience won't understand. Well, what's the significance of this lion dance, and who does this, and why? And why are these kids doing this? Why are they keeping the tradition alive? Let's say you currently have, some food and a line dance. You can talk to the organizer to explain who does this and why, and talk to some of the kids. Why do they do it? And why is it fun for them? And how they can connect with other Chinese Americans and all that. So when you can humanize it and give it context, then you could add some value. But the line dance is Chinese, and so be aware of which group you're sharing in, and make sure that it's authentic. And if you have like Panda Express, let's say, well, that's not authentic. That's not Chinese food. That's American Chinese. And, do better. Come on. And being that 10% of all U.S. restaurants are Asian, how about hiring a local restaurant and talking to them about their story? They're probably too busy to show up and talk, and they may not be interested. But you can talk to them, at their store, not at a non-busy time, and learn about their story, and then share that story with their permission. So there's ways to humanize the connections here, because that's what we're looking for, human stories. This is a call to move beyond superficial celebrations. Your company isn't a cultural festival. It's a place of employment, and you have real life people with backgrounds that you can learn about. Highlight them. Let's do better by fostering an environment that promotes conversations about cultures and the daily challenges and the small victories of your employees. Engage in these types of conversations that encourage learning about personal stories and cultural backgrounds. In these types of interactions, these are the ones that are empowering and uplifting. This is a meaningful type situation. And with this, maybe you have closeted Asians, closeted where they are white presenting or they're racially ambiguous, and they don't let anybody know that they're Asian. Because 20% of Americans who are Asian hide their heritage. This is by Pew Research. So why do you think that is? Because Asians are teased for it. They see other Asians being teased, or they used to be teased, or they have self-hatred for Asians. So there's many reasons. But if you can create this environment where you can claim your culture and where it's encouraged and it's validated, oh, that's fantastic. So people can feel comfortable that it's okay to claim your culture. The Heritage Month we observe today began as a week-long celebration in 1978, initiated by Jimmy Carter. He has done so many incredible things, and expanded by President George Bush in 1992. President Biden in 2021 further acknowledged its importance by designating it as the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And it was chosen to honor the first Japanese immigration to the United States and to commemorate the Chinese immigrants who worked on the Transcontinental Railroad. So this month serves as a reflection of the contributions and influences of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders to the history, culture, and achievements of the U.S., because many a times it is hidden and it is not in the history. And right now it is also being banned. And there are books that are banned about Japanese incarceration and all sorts of different identities. And by the way, you may think, oh, I can't remember that acronym, AANHPI. Oh, that's so hard. I will never do it. You can. I can. And it was a tongue twister, but it's important to respect the different groups. And so I did Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. And this reference is expanded to be able to make sure that the Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are visible. Because in the whole diversity bucket, Asian Americans are invisible or are not included. So you can imagine the few times that we are included, Pacific Islanders and Native Hawaiians absolutely are not included. So taking the effort to include Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders is important. Start at least by saying these groups. Probably in education, there's not a lot that people are sharing. So I am doing a better job with educating on these groups as well. This May, I encourage you to look beyond surface level actions and focus on these meaningful type interactions. Because it's, you're just ticking the box with the Chinese food and the lion dance. Let's do more. Let's educate, elevate, and honor our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. Let's highlight our employees, or maybe there's some clients you want to highlight. Host some weekly presentations. Have some listening circles, some town halls. Facilitate culture chats. Display Asian inclusion installations. Talk about artists and pop culture of these different groups. There's so many different ways. And there were so many stories of all the different groups. And it's really interesting. So as you are trying to celebrate this month, add some depth and some facts and education that we didn't get through school. We should confront workplace microaggressions and acknowledge the uncelebrated contributions of Asian Americans. So earlier we talked about the railroads, the Chinese workers who were instrumental in constructing 80% of the Union Pacific Railroad. And there was never any evidence of that. They weren't in that last picture. There's no mention in any history books outside of Asian American books history. And they were finally recognized 150 years later. That was just a few years ago. It's not too late. And there are many stories like this that could build pride in Americans of Asian descent, because our history was hidden, and it is also being banned at this moment in many states as well. Embracing the AA and HPI market, it means developing campaigns that honor cultural traditions that are factually correct. And it's about fostering relationships that you can turn a single customer into an advocate for your brand within their community. For example, you may say, oh, yeah, I've never met a Tongan or Samoan person ever. You know what? But when you do and you gain their trust as a customer, guess what? They may go to their church and bring out their extended family and their friends because you gave them respect. It works like that. Not understanding this community could cost you, potentially in revenue, and the chance to be a part of a diverse, prospering future. Think about all those stats that I shared with you. And if you don't know anything about this group, you're not getting any of that. Celebrating May is committing to a more inclusive business environment too. So, will your company just watch, or will it engage actively and appropriately? What will you do? The decision is straightforward. Let May be your company's commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and business growth. And I can help you do it. I have many presentations, but I have time for some virtual ones. And I can add some legitimacy to this celebration. Thank you for listening. Let's celebrate. You can find me on LinkedIn.com and on my website, jolenejang.com. A little bit on Instagram. And on Facebook, Asian Allies, asianallies.com, and Empowered Asians. I hope to hear from you, and until the next time, aren't Asians all alike? No!